my people, how you doing? I'm giving you a fantastic damn day. Welcome back to the channel. Obviously, you've clicked on this video. Thank you so much. We will be breaking down Rúben Amorim's 3-4-3 formation in the game FC24. If you do enjoy this video, please hit that like button. It's really appreciated, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate that so much. And of course, if you are new to the channel or you have been seeing quite a few of my videos, this video, I'm going to try my damnedest to get you to subscribe. So please, if you can, hit that sub button. We are on the road to the next milestone of the channel, which is 3,000 subscribers. So the faster we can get there, the better. But nonetheless, you aren't here for me to talk too much about the channel. Now, of course, before hopping into the formation, of course, a few months ago, I did make the same set of instructions per se, but there are a few tweaks and alterations that I have made for this newer lineup. So if you haven't seen that and you would still like to incorporate those instructions and that formation and so on, I will link it at the end of this video for you guys to go and have a look at. Of course, it is for FIFA 23, but I think it can carry over and more or less correlate with what, you know, FC24 can produce for you. So anyway, going back to the formation, I've gone with a 3-4-3 formation. So there's wide midfielders in this formation instead of your fullbacks or your wing backs, I should say. And the only real change I have made is I've brought the wingers slightly more narrow to the striker. That does get them a bit more involved, more centrally at times, which is what you're trying to do going forward. So it is one goalkeeper, 3 centre-backs, 2 central midfielders, 2 wide midfielders, 2 wingers, and then 1 striker. So for the tactics under Rúben Amorim, the tactical vision, I couldn't really decide what category Rúben Amorim's side fits into. So I've gone with a custom set of tactics, which I think does work out a bit better. The defensive style is pressure on heavy touch, so they do look to try and sit off a bit more and wait for the opposition to potentially make a mistake. I know their front line, their 3 forwards, they do look to aggressively try and press the opposition and force them into making errors, even the goalkeeper at times. So you will be looking to try and implement that. But other than that, they will force the goalkeeper to go somewhat long, and that's more or less where your strong midfield, as well as your centre-backs come into play with trying to win that ball nice and high up the field. As for the team width, it is set to 25. So it is a naturally very widespread formation. Of course, you've got your wide midfielders, you've got your wide wingers. So you want to try and hone that in a bit more on the defensive side of things, making it very compact, very structured, making it very hard for the opposition to try and play through, of course. As for the depth, I've gone with the 60, and this does implement a bit of a mid-block at times. I know sometimes the defense does get a bit higher up the field, so if you want, you can alter it a little bit and make sure that it's a slightly higher line, especially if you are playing a lesser team or if you are trying to dominate the possession stats. I would advise you, you can raise it. But this team is susceptible to the counter-attack, which is why I've gone with a 60 and a natural mid-block. As for the offense, the build-up play is set to fast build-up and the chance creation is set to balance. Now, fast build-up, they do like to transition quite quickly from back to front, getting the ball into the forward line or potentially having the midfield progress it up quite quickly, either through the wingers or through the central areas of the pitch. And as for the chance creation, it's set to balance. You do want to have a bit more of a dynamic approach, maybe those runs in behind, maybe that more direct approach. You can also look to have a bit more of a possessive based style of football where you do look after the ball a bit more, but of course things will be done at a much faster pace. And what I like so much about this is it encourages the wider midfielders to get a bit more involved in the attacking play, which is what we see if you do watch Sporting CP play on a day-to-day basis. As for the width, it's set to 70. A lot of the good attacking outlet comes from those wider areas. Of course, you're playing with wingers as well as wide midfielders, so you want to have the ball in those wide areas, trying to stretch the opposition on a horizontal scale, and that essentially opens up a bit more space for your midfield as well as your strikers / your forwards to try and work with in between the lines. As for players in the box, I've set it to 7, and this does allow a bit more of a fluid approach. You obviously do have quite a few attackers. You want an added midfielder making that deeper run into the box. More times than not, it's the left-sided central midfielder who does make that attacking run deeper into the box. But again, you do want to have a bit more players in and around the attacking third to try and score as many goals as possible. For the corners and free kicks, as per always, it is set to 4. So with the instructions for Sporting CP, we'll start off at the back with the goalkeeper. I've set a down to come for crosses. Of course, very good, very strong in the air, can alleviate the stress and the pressure. And of course, you are playing a bit of a mid-block, so he doesn't need to make those runs off of his line. And even if you are playing a slightly higher line, he's not well known to be able to, run off of his line, collect the ball, circulate it back into play. So that's why I've gone with a balanced approach for his saving outside of the box. Moving on slightly high up the field to Inacio, Quartet, as well as Diamande. So 2 of your centre-backs, the 2 wider ones, Inacio as well as Diamande, they have got their base set of instructions, whereas the likes of Quartet, of course, we do know that late on in the games, he does make those attacking runs forward to try and add a bit more of an aerial presence in the box. So he will be that added player in that attacking third when you are whipping in those crosses. Of course, if you are losing a game or you're drawing a game, he will be that added player. He does add a bit more of an aerial threat in the attacking third, so you do want him making those attacking runs. So that's why for his attacking support, I've had set to play as a striker, and like it says, it'll that player will go up in the last few moments of the half. Either it's the first half or it could be the second half, and he will make that attacking run forward. Moving on into our midfield, we've got the likes of Morita and Ruben. We'll start off with the right-handed sided central midfielder. He is set to stay back while attacking as well as stay on the edge of the area. So he does look to hang back a bit more, look to try and protect the backline as best as possible. But he is also very much prone to taking those long shots from outside of the attacking third. So you do want him to be able to latch onto the ball in some space and then pop off some shots. He does have a very good long shot on him, if I'm not mistaken. His interceptions is set to normal, as well as his defensive positioning is set to cover the center. Like I say, he's going to look to try and cover the back line as best as he can, try and sweep up in front of them, and more or less try and protect and shield them when he can, obviously. As for his positioning freedom, I have him set to stick to position. You don't really want him being the guy who's going to free roam and pick out the little pockets of space, because it does more or less detract him from being that shield, being the enforcer. And of course, if he is looking to try and drift wide or pick out those little half spaces in and around the opposition's half, if you turn the ball over, he is going to be out of position. Moving over to the left-handed sided central midfielder, Morita, he is set to have a balanced attack, so a bit more of the box-to-box presence, you could say. And as for his support on crosses, it's set to balance, so he will also be that added midfielder in certain moments, making those deeper runs. He does like to do that, getting into the box, attacking crosses, or potentially collecting the ball in the attacking third and then providing cutback opportunities for the strikers. Aggressive interceptions are set to be on for him. He will look to try and aggressively press the opposition and try and force them into areas as well. And then for his defensive position, I have him set to cover the wing as well as stick to position for his positioning freedom. Moving out wide to the left midfielder as well as the right midfielder, Eusebio as well as Santos have the same set of instructions. So both of them are set to stay wide, operating as the outlets on either flank, providing the width and as many crosses as they possibly can down either flank. Getting in behind is essential. You want them testing the back line with those runs just in behind them. Staying on the edge of the box is essential as well, trying to recycle the ball or potentially cycle it out to one of them for them to then supply a cross into the box. Aggressive interceptions are set to be on for them as well as stick to position. As you can see here for Eusebio, he's set to stay wide, getting behind, stay on the edge of the box as well, and then aggressive interceptions and stick to position. Starting on the right-hand side with our right winger, Edwards, he is set to have a basic defensive support, cut inside and getting behind. You do want him to also try and test the opposition backline with his pace in behind, but I did note that he does like to cut inside a bit more and create shot opportunities for himself, which is why I've gone with him to cut inside. He does also like to help the fullback / the wide midfielder out in certain moments, so that's why I've gone with a balanced approach for him. But more times than not, he will look to try and link up higher up the field in the offensive transitions. His supports on crosses I've set to balance, so sometimes making it into the box, trying to attack those crosses, other times looking to try and facilitate on the edge of the area. And then just like for all of the forwards, they will all be set to aggressive interceptions. Like I say, that front three, they like to try and press the opposition's backline into making certain errors or forcing them to try and go long and try and bypass that front man or that front line press that you will look to try and implement. Moving on to the left-handed side, Gonçalves, he is set to come back on defense, consistently looking to try and help out with the defensive side of things. But again, this does allow him to have a deeper starting position, so it does allow him to be a bit more involved in the link-up play and the build-up play of the offense going forward. His transgression is set to a balance width, so sometimes looking to hang wide a bit more, other times looking to cut inside, and then other times looking to have a bit more of a freer role. You do want him sometimes just coming inside a bit more and operating more centrally, which is why a balanced approach does help, as well as the support runs are set to come short, linking up play quite effectively with that midfield. His interceptions is set to aggressive, like I said, and then his support on crosses is also set to balanced. And then finally, we've got our striker, Gyökeres. He is set to having a balance width, so he sometimes does look to drift into those wider areas, collect the ball, hold it up quite effectively, and then lay it off. I mean, I think it was the previous game, I can't remember who it was against, but he did a fantastic dummy run, or it wasn't a dummy run, was it? No, he drifted wide, basically, right? He collected the ball on the touchline of the opposition. I think it was even in the box. He held off the man, and then he turned and he literally laid it off to, I can't say who it was, but anyway, they ended up shooting and they scored, and it was a fantastic assist from him, all from the ability of him making that wider run and then having the ability to hold the ball up and then lay it off. So for his attacking runs, you want him to play as a false nine because more times than not, your striker will be slightly isolated. So you want him to drop deeper in certain moments, drop off the back line, potentially pull an opposition player out, and then link up play quite effectively with the likes of Don Calvish, Morita, and Ruben. So you want your striker being very involved in the build-up play going forward. As for his interceptions, it's set to aggressive, like I said, and then his defensive support is set to basic. So like I say, sometimes he can drop off quite deep, be a bit more involved in the link-up play, or sometimes in his own half, and then other times he can look to be a bit more of the out there ball, having the ability to hold it up quite effectively and then lay it off. The same instructions do apply for the striker on the bench, Paulinho. I think it's Paulinho, I might be mistaken. Paulinho indeed. So you don't really need to change too much with this team when you do make those subs. So yes, my people, that is my version of Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3 formation with Sporting CP. If you have enjoyed this, please smash that like button down below. Of course, this is a fantastic career mode to try and get Sporting to the very highs of European football, or get them back to the top of Portuguese football. I mean, I know they won the league a few seasons ago, and Amorim is one of the best young managers to coach in world football at the moment. So he's doing a fantastic job, and hopefully he can continue to do that. And maybe in a few seasons' time, we see him at a massive club. I know he currently is linked with Manchester United, but nonetheless, we won't talk about that in this video. So yeah, if you can, hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, or you are enjoying the channel, of course. And of course, until the next time, I hope you guys have a damn great day. I'm Immerse.